Hi everyone, welcome to Awkward Author. My name is Alyssa Grasso, and this is my weekly vlog and podcast about my sometimes awkward, always awesome author life. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, I'll apologize for my Coke bottle glasses that I'm wearing today. These are my regular glasses, but yeah, I have horrible eyesight, and I'm recording this a day early. I normally record on Tuesday. I'm recording on Monday. It's a work from home kind of day here. It's actually a holiday, technically. Not really a holiday that affects you much if you're someone that generally works from home, because it's really just like an ordinary Monday, but there's no mail. I guess that's the main difference. But yeah, so I'm working from home and didn't feel like putting in contacts, so I just have my glasses on. But I wanted to record this today because I think my schedule's going to be a little too hectic tomorrow to get in everything that I need to get done. So that's why the change of schedule this week. The other apology I need to make is actually for listeners to the podcast. Last week, I inadvertently uploaded the unedited audio file, and so if you listened to it early on when I first uploaded it, the first few days that I uploaded it, you would have heard some extra chair squeaks and throat clearings and water slurpings and whatnot, some maybe little mistakes and stuff in there. Thankfully it wasn't, some weeks I got the dog barking and I have to edit out a lot of, extraneous noise. I don't think it was too bad last week, so it was a good week to make a mistake and upload an unedited file. And actually, the reason I found out is because Paul Teague, who was listening, decided to reach out to me on Twitter and, ask if I realized that I had uploaded the unedited file, which of course I did not, until he sent that message. So then I went about uploading the correct one and got that all squared away. So now the edited audio file is there, and that's all you'll hear. But my apologies if you were one of the earlier listeners and heard, a slightly noisier, a little bit more chaotic recording. And I should have known because, when I went through the process of exporting it, it's not even that I got a message on the computer, it was just things were different than they normally were. And I was like, that's weird. I wonder why that's like that. Not thinking, my was like, they probably did some update or something, and this is how it looks now. That was, I should have maybe checked things out, once I had something that was weird, but I was like, oh no, it all looks good. And it wasn't. And anyway, so I uploaded the wrong one, but have it squared away now. And thank you to Paul for letting me know about my little mix up there. But yeah, so it's always a good idea to check your work over, especially before you put it out there. So whether you're recording podcasts and videos or, writing books, mistakes happen. And obviously they can always be fixed, but double checking is always a good thing. And I guess that is, that kind of segues into something I wanted to talk about, which is, I keep talking about these books that I'm working on and my publication plans. And as you know, I want to do a sort of rapid release thing, which is why, even though I've got 3 books written, I'm waiting till I have, all 4 written and edited before I start, publishing them. And something, that maybe is I don't know if I'm being overly cautious. I don't know if that's quite the term for it, but what I felt was like the last time that I self-published books, and really the last book that I self-published was My Girl Most Likely to Succeed. I did it at the same time as I did my shorter novella, In the Bag. And basically I set for myself, a launch date and a release date, and had a lot of things done. I had my files edited and all that. I did not have... I had created the cover, I had created a paperback cover, but I hadn't yet, gone through the proofs and gotten the proofs and done all that. So I was actually scrambling, to get stuff done and get it out on time, and it was pretty stressful. And, I might have done some things differently if I wasn't so pressed for time, because I had already set like that date in advance. And so that's something that I'm going to change about this series of releases, because it is going to be 4 books, and I do not want to feel that like stress and pressure, and I want to make sure I have everything as perfect as I can make it. I mean, it won't be perfect because I'm human and there'll be mistakes, I know, but I want to make sure everything is as cleaned and polished as it can be before I begin to actually like publish these books. So I want to have all my books done, all 4 books, obviously written, edited, proofread, all that stuff. I want, I do the layout in vellum, so that doesn't really take that long once you have everything edited and everything. So I want, all the text to be, ready to go. But then I also want not just the ebook covers, but the paperback covers, which is a little bit more work because you do have to get a print proof and look it over. And, occasionally there are going to be things that are, not quite right. Even when you have all the dimensions and you're laying out in the computer and, it looks like it should be right, but that's one of those things you really want to see the print proof, I think, of it first before you might want to tweak a few things, just the way things come out when it's actually printed. So that's some stuff that I want to have that done for, this may sound crazy, I want to have that done for like all 4 books before I start the publication process, before I put the first one out. So that's why I'm anticipating it'll be like late spring before I really start getting these books published, because that's a lot of stuff to do, and it takes a little bit of time. It's not going to be instantaneous, especially when we're talking about the print proofs and they have to get mailed and you have to look them over and make the changes and everything. But I want to have all that done before I start publishing. And part of the reason for that is because once I do start publishing, I want to be able to put as much time and effort into marketing as I possibly can. Because that's another thing that, with the launch of my last self-published book, obviously I was still pretty new at the game and still trying to figure things out. So that was part of it, but also, just feeling, I picked a bad time of year for myself to do it. And I just felt like, I couldn't put as much time into working on the marketing as I would have liked. And so I don't want there to be, anything holding me back as far as that goes. So that's my thinking, is like, if I can have all the book details, all of that stuff done, ready to go, so I don't have to worry about that, and then I can actually, put as much time into the marketing as I possibly can. Obviously I have other stuff I have to do. This isn't a full-time thing for me, so that's another reason to kind of, make sure that I have everything in place, don't have to worry about that stuff, and can, then put my energy and focus on, marketing, advertising, that sort of thing. And like I said, it may be, an overabundance of caution on my part, but I want to try a different experience than I had the last time, which was, a little bit stressful and a little bit hectic. And, I've, as you probably know, I've had, books published traditionally, which is a little bit different of an experience. There's a lot of stuff that's not under your control as an author, and, the publisher is going to set the release date. Publishing is a little strange. It moves very, very slowly. It moves at a glacial pace, I say, but there are certain things where it's like, okay, here's your proofs. You haven't heard from us in 6 months. Here's your proofs, and oh, by the way, you have to have them to us by the end of next week, or it's usually like some ridiculous turnaround time that they expect. Meanwhile, like, they seem to be taking forever to do things, so it's always it's like wait, rush, and then wait some more kind of thing. That's been my experience about how publishing works, and so it's an interesting experience for an author. Now, the thing that is nice about traditional publishing, it's nice in some ways and not so nice in other ways, is you really don't have, a lot, as an author, you don't have to worry about, the cover, you don't have to worry about, publication, the proofs, all that stuff. The publisher handles all that, and you don't really have to worry too much about marketing. Now, you're still expected to do some marketing, but as far as, like, doing advertising and, getting reviews and stuff like that, that's really on the part of the publisher, or at least it should be, and that's why you're giving them and that's why you're giving them, a big chunk of your royalties, for all this work they do. So it does all balance out. You pay them for this, privilege of them doing that work, and there's, I don't want to say there's less stress, but kind of it is. It's less work for you as an author to be traditionally published. It's less money unless, your book takes off, and then you might wind up with more money. There's different trade-offs and different things to, think about. Now, when my first book came out, now publishers move at a glacial pace, and they have to, kind of set publication dates pretty far out. There's a lot of things that, there's a long lead time for print publications like review journals and magazines and stuff. So they have to, kind of know pretty far in advance, what's going on. They have their own publication schedule that they kind of got to work with. And then they have, sales reps that are going out to the bookstores to, or other stores to sell your book. So they need some time as well. Everything's got to be kind of planned out in advance. If there's conferences or something like that they're going to have you attend, they have to know this stuff in advance. So, publishing a traditional book versus a self-published book, there's a little bit more, I guess, more planning involved in it, and the timeline is, they need more time to know, what your publication date is going to be. So let me think. Like, it was, my book was coming out originally in March of 2011, and I knew that going back pretty far, like, at least, I don't want to say a year in advance, but maybe like 6 months in advance. I definitely, I had a publication date. And then we ran into a little bit of a kerfuffle. They had a cover and a book title that they'd come up with that wasn't working. And really how we, just determined this was actually through the sales reps trying to sell it to bookstores and getting pushback from the bookstores. And so that's when, they went to the publisher and said, look, we need to do something about this. And so they came, they decided we have to change the title, and we're probably going to change the cover too, don't panic. And so we did that, and this was back in, I think this was in December of 2010 or November of 2010. The book wasn't coming out again until March of 2011, but because we had to do that, they're like, okay, that's going to push things back. We're going to have the publication date be May. We're going to have it be May of 2011. And at that point, I had actually already scheduled, maybe I was a little bit ambitious on my part, but I had scheduled some events to promote the book. I think it was in April. I think it was for April National Library Week. It was some events for, or was it Children's Book Week? I don't even know. I can't keep track of the different library holiday weeks. But anyway, I had some events scheduled for April that I ended up doing, but I didn't have a book out yet, so that kind of stunk. But I had already scheduled that, and there's nothing I could do about that. I wasn't going to let the libraries down that I had already scheduled some things on my own with. So anyway, it can happen with traditional publishing too, but it's going to be so much further back. Like, I don't anticipate a publisher ever, pulling a book that's going to, unless something serious happened, they're not going to pull a book that's supposed to come out the next month and, put the date back or whatever. It's a longer timeline, longer time scale that traditional publishing works on as opposed to self-publishing. And so I guess I'm coming from that traditional publishing world to self-publishing, and I'm trying to create experience for myself that's more similar to how traditional publishing was, but at the same time I'm doing all the work myself. So that's why I'm trying to give myself enough time to be able to do everything I need to do, not have to rush, not have to stress about things. And so that's my thinking. That's my thinking with the publication of these books. We'll see how it actually goes, because things don't always go according to plan, but I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. So, if you were wondering, why it's taken me so long, that's part of the reason. I do anticipate having these books ready to go for publication probably before their actual release date, but I want to make sure that they are, and make sure that everything's good to go. So, I won't even set a release date until, I have all the files done, everything ready and good to go. I've been I'm thinking about like readers and reviews, something that kind of I found interesting this past week. So I don't normally talk about books that, if I talk about a book on here, it's usually because I like the book and, I want to give praise to the author and the book and whatnot. And so I don't like to complain. But I started reading a book last week and it wasn't for me. That's what I'll say. It was not a book that I was enjoying. Okay. The strong word would be that I hated it, but it just wasn't for me. It wasn't an enjoyable reading experience. And here's the thing. The book is considered a classic. A lot of people have recommended it to me. It's won a Pulitzer Prize. I mean, I'm not going to damage the book's reputation by talking, crap about it. And here's the thing. The book is considered a classic. It's won a Pulitzer Prize. Lots of people have recommended it to me. Nothing I say on this little, podcast is going to damage the book's reputation anyway, I assure you. My feeling was it just wasn't for me, and like I had to like stop it. I even like posted something on Twitter because I'm like, is it just me? Like why do I hate this book so much? And another author that I know, he responded to me, and he was basically the same boat. He said like, I can't tell you if it gets better because I quit halfway through. I hated it too. So I was like, okay, that was reassuring because that's someone, he's a good writer. I know, his books are good. I like him. I trust his opinion on things. So I was like, okay, it's not just me, And then I just, out of curiosity, decided to go on Amazon and just see the reviews of this book. And it was like, it was basically divided between like 5-star reviews and 1-star reviews. Like there was a few 4 stars, but it was like 4 and 5-star reviews and like 1-star reviews. Like there really wasn't anything in the middle. It was just like this polarizing thing. And it was just interesting because it was interesting to see people either like loved it or they hated it. I was in the hated it camp, but there was actually more people in the loved it camp. Although I tend to think that might be people more likely to write a review. I don't know. For me, I would be more likely to write a review if I loved something as opposed to hated it. I didn't leave a 1-star review on Amazon for the book. I didn't finish it, so that's another issue there. But anyway, I'll tell you the book because it doesn't matter. I mean, the author is gone. He's not alive anymore, and like the book's already well established as far as reputation. But the book was A Confederacy of Dunces. So I don't know if you've ever read this book by is John Kennedy Toole. Is that his name? Toole? I'm not sure. But anyway, A Confederacy of Dunces. It's a literary classic. It's the only book that the author ever wrote. It was actually published posthumously. I can't even talk. Whatever. It was published after he died. It's regarded as humorous, and it's like, I don't know, I guess like it's a satire, I guess, but it's like, I can handle satire, I guess, in small doses, but a whole novel of it is just, it's like, and it's just like, none of the characters are likable in the book, so you're just with these people that you don't want to spend time with, and you're reading about them, and I don't know, I guess I need someone to root for in a book. I mean, I know there's something to be said about, anti-heroes and unlikable characters and stuff like this, but for me, the book was just like, it was just too much. And maybe if I was in a different mood or something, it might have grabbed me, although I just can't imagine because it just really wasn't for me. But it's just something interesting to consider as an author, like when you get these 1-star reviews or you get, someone who just like really does not like your book, try not to take it personally because everybody's got different tastes, and clearly like the majority of people thought differently than I did about this book. So it's just, you can't write, what did Abraham Lincoln say? You're not going to please everyone all the time. And so there are books out there who probably don't have any negative reviews, but they might only have they might not get a lot of 5-star reviews. They might get a lot of 3 or 4-star reviews because people are like, it's good, but it's not great. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, things to think about as an author. And I think if you're striving to please everyone, it's probably not going to work. But don't be discouraged if you have, someone saying, "Oh, I love your book," and someone else saying, "I hate it," because it happens even to, literary classics. And I mean, I've read a lot of books in my life. I majored in English lit in college, and so I've read, a lot of books, and not always books I wanted to read. Obviously, if I had to, been assigned this to read for school, I would have had to read the whole thing, but I was reading for fun, and I wasn't having fun, so I, abandoned the book. And, not every, literary classic is for me, and that's fine, some are great, some are, I think back to even, like, high school, I had to read The Scarlet Letter, for a class I was in, and I hated that book, and I have never gone back to it and read it again as an adult. Like, maybe I would come to it with a different opinion of it as an older person, but I just was like, oh, this book is not for me. It was awful, but I had to read it because I was reading it for school. But then I also had to read, Pride and Prejudice for school, which is a wonderful book, and, to me, I've read it multiple times in my life, and it's a great book and never ceases to be enjoyable to me. So it's just, but there are people who hate Pride and Prejudice out there, and don't think it's a good book. So there's books for everyone out there, and it's tough to write a book that is for everyone, I guess, is the point of all that. So, there's nothing wrong with a polarizing book, I guess, if you happen to write one, and you hope that you don't, but you do want people to like it, and maybe to get, huge fans, the only way to do that is to write a book that's also going to, drive some people away for you. Anyway, that's just me, musing on the subject of books and reviews and all that good stuff. So, talking about my publishing plans, as far as writing goes this week, I didn't even mention that, did I? I had some issues this week. Not that this had... Anyway, this week, as far as writing goes, I did not get a lot of writing done. Now, part of that is, I shouldn't say I didn't get a lot of writing done. I did a fair amount of writing related work, even if it wasn't actual writing, because I've been working on outlining the 4th book of this series that I'm working on, and will begin writing it soon, but I want to get the outline done and as good as I can make it, because I did run into problems with the last one where I feel like maybe I didn't do a good enough outline at first, and that's why, halfway through writing, I kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock there. So, working on the outline for that, and then also I did some writing. I'm working on a collaboration project, which I've mentioned a couple of times, I know, but wrote my next chapter for that, so I did do that writing. Had a little bit of an issue this week. It's an issue that's been building with my computer, so I type a lot, obviously, and I guess, also dirt gets into the keyboard. Anyway, I got to the point where my E key had been acting up, like the letter E, which you kind of need. Like, it's not Q, it's not, I don't know, a letter that you don't use that much. V, I guess, I don't know. It's E, it's in everything, right? X, you don't use X that much, right? But, E, you use it a lot, and it was, it'd been touchy, I guess I'll say. It'd been kind of cranky, and then it got progressively worse to the point where, like, last week it was like, it was only working maybe like 25% of the time that I was hitting it, which is not good. So I got really frustrated. I was writing, I was trying to work on that chapter for the collaboration project I'm working on, and like the damn key, and it was like, I think it was Friday, I don't know, Thursday maybe, I don't know. I was trying to write, I was working on that chapter for the collaboration project I was working on, and like it was like not, working, and I was getting very frustrated because I'm trying to write, and it's like you gotta keep stopping, like pound on the key, and that's not really a good way to write. So I'm like, well, there's probably dirt under it. It's a MacBook, so it's a laptop. It's like the keyboard's built into the computer, and it's a little bit different than like the old school kind of keyboards we used to have with computers, where you could just pop the cap off and, clean it out and pop the cap back on. So I popped the cap off. There's this whole plastic hinge assembly to it. I mean, I watched a video on YouTube. I was able to clean it out in there, and there was dirt in there, so that was probably the issue. But anyway, then I'm trying to get it back together, and I could not do it. Now I happen to have my glasses on that day, or I happen to have my contacts in that day, which I know contacts help me see, but I need contacts for distance, and so they don't help me see close-up things. And so, like, when I'm trying to do close-up things, if I have my glasses on, I could just lift my glasses off and, like, look at things and actually see it. If I have my contacts on, I have to put reading glasses on, and I can kind of see it, but I don't really see it in quite the clear detail that I would if I was just looking at it without, any prescription there. So basically, I couldn't see what I was doing. I couldn't get it back on, and I went a few days with just like a nub there, which I could still use the key. It's just the key wasn't there. It was just a little like rubber thing that I had to press to get the E. And that was actually an improvement over how the E key had been before then. So I was like, okay. And then yesterday I had my boyfriend help me. He's more mechanically inclined than I am, so he was able to figure out how to get the assembly together. I couldn't figure out how to get the key on because he wasn't sure which way it went, because my E key is like completely worn off. It was just, where there should have been E was just clear plastic. So he had to take off another key. We took up the tilde because we thought, well, that's probably safe. If something happens to that, it won't be the end of the world. And so with that, he was able to get the E key back together and then got that key back on. And so everything is working now. I won't say it's working perfectly, but it's definitely working way, way better than it was. So I am back in business as far as writing goes. So as soon as I get this outline done, I will be able to dive into working on this book. But that is what is going on with me this week, and I hope you are having a good week there. It's a bit chilly out today. We got some snow over the weekend, not too much. Not anything like you guys got up in Canada, I will say that. I think maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches at most. Really not bad at all. A lot of it melted yesterday. So yeah, but it is a chilly day today. It's a true winter day out there. So I'm going to stay inside and I'm going to work some more on that outline and see what else I can get done. So I thank you guys for watching and for listening. I put out new episodes of Awkward Author each week, just talking about my life as an author. And I will catch up with you again next week. If you would like to know more about me, you can check out alyssagrosso.com, which is ALISSAGROSSO.com, or check out awkwardauthor.com. So thank you again, guys, and I will see you all again soon. Have a great week.